I know with the time change it's hard to keep track, but it is 9:30, and I want to welcome everybody to the November 7th, 2014 meeting of Henderson County Fiscal Court. We will begin, as we always do, with an invocation, and I'd like to call on Magistrate Bruce Todd to lead us in prayer. Please stand.
I'll do it. Bow your heads. Heavenly Father, it's a privilege and honor to come before you this morning, realizing that you're God and you're in control, and we just thank you for the blessings of life you give us each day and waking us up and bringing us through the day. And we just ask that you would be with this court this morning, Lord, and that you would give us the wisdom. We realize that wisdom we have, it comes from you, and we just ask we make decisions today that would be pleasing to you and be pleasing to our community and our constituents, Lord. And we just want to pray for those who are fighting and for our freedom. And the Veterans Day is coming up, Lord. We just pray that you bless the veterans and the men and women that fight each day, Lord, and our families, Lord, that we would protect. And we just thank you for that, and we just ask that you continue to be a blessing to us. We ask these things in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Magistrate Warren.
Are here.
Magistrate Alexander.
Here.
Magistrate Todd.
Here.
Magistrate Wilkerson.
Here.
And Magistrate Putnam.
Here.
Thanks again to Magistrate Todd for that invocation. And you have in front of you, gentlemen, the minutes of the October 24th, 2017 Henderson County Fiscal Court meeting. After a period of review, I'll entertain a motion to accept those.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comments, additions, corrections, or clarifications? Please call the roll.
Magistrate Warren.
Aye.
Magistrate Alexander.
Aye.
Magistrate Todd.
Aye.
Magistrate Wilkerson.
Aye.
And Magistrate Putnam.
Aye.
I would like Miss Abby Bennett to join me here at the front of the room. She is this month's Judges Scholar from Cairo Elementary School, and we're going to hear all about
Annie.
it.
Anna.
I'm sorry, did I say Abby? Anna Bennett. Anna Bennett. Right here, Anna. Meet you right there.
Hey, I'm going to read this to you, okay? You ready? So proud of you. Congratulations. Whereas Anna Bennett has been chosen by Cairo Elementary School to be the recipient of the Judges Scholar Award because she made a choice to accept changes that would benefit her education and well-being. And whereas change isn't easy, however, Anna, your ability to embrace change has led to growth that will only further your successes in life. And whereas success is measured in many different ways, whether it be passing a test, scoring the winning point, achieving a particular goal, or taking the necessary steps for overall improvement. And whereas the Henderson County school system could not let your efforts go unnoticed. And whereas the Henderson County Fiscal Court supports the school system and acknowledges these changes as being significant because students such as you, Anna, are going to be our future leaders. Now, therefore, I, Brad Schneider, County Judge Executive of Henderson, join with the Henderson County Fiscal Court to proclaim November 7th, 2017 as Anna Bennett Day. Yay!
We have several members of the family with us, and the principal. Carolyn, come on up. On this side, too. Always nice to have a wing person for the meeting. Anna, welcome. We're all proud of you. Next, I'd like to call to the podium Mr. Chase Fulcher, who is going to give us some great new news on the archery building at Sandy Lee Watkins Park.
Judge, for members of the court and yourself and everybody in the media, Mr. Fulcher has been a dedicated advocate of helping us develop a 3D archery range at the Sandy Lee Watkins Park, along with helping us procure a grant from the state through Fish and Wildlife. He also donated $75,000 personally for the development of the facility building that is currently still under construction at the Sandy Lee Watkins Park. With the growth of the park, Mr. Fulcher would like to address the court on what he would like to do with this facility, and I'll let him speak on that. Mr. Fulcher?
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it. Good morning. How's the court this morning?
Good.
Well, first, I want to appreciate all your energies. I deal a lot with all of you from time to time on different things in the community, and I'm always appreciative of your interest, your compassion, and you can tell it's not a job. When you love what you do, you don't ever have to go to work. So I personally want to thank you, Carter, Bruce, Steve, Brad. Everywhere I go, you're there. Late at night, mornings, everywhere I go, you're at a function or somewhere. And I appreciate your energy because you wouldn't have to be at all those things that you are. Sue, when I talk to you all the time, you're always helpful, smiling, and care. Charles, talk to you 2 or 3 things about some great things, and you're always responsive and help. George, same. I appreciate your energies and help. And Butch, I appreciate you. So I appreciate everyone's energies for all the different things in the community because in team, together everyone accomplishes more. There's no I in team. So I appreciate the energies of the court and our physical court of always trying to do the right thing for taxpayers, the community, and seeing how they can benefit things. So let's get back to the building. The reason I'm here, and sometimes, Charles, time helps, right? If you just have a little bit of time on your side and just take 2 or 3 years, sometimes, Steve, better things will work out. When that was built 2 years ago, we were looking at a lot of different facilities out there, bigger facilities. I tried to fly 2 or 3 people in nationally, and I did. Drove them out there myself, paid for the tickets to try to get some big national archery venues out there. Well, the problem is, the infrastructure's not there. Everybody that comes out wants hotels, lodging, wants big RV parks out there, and, we're just not there. I mean, you've got to take baby steps. So in the last 2 years, a lot of requests that have come up is about, can I use the building? Can I use the building? I get a lot of different requests. Here's just some of them. The farmers in the community, the Farm Bureau Board's really excited. I know y'all have worked on this farm ag park thing, right, where kids can go out there, Charles. A lot of them grow up in the city. A lot of them grow up on concrete. They may never get on a combine or a tractor or any of those type of things. I know Fiscal Court's been working on this, and I know y'all have had the energy behind it in Mitzi. So our board is really excited about that. I think that's a good thing. We've got the drone program that they're talking about now with the high school, and I'll tell you, drones are going to be a thing of the future. Farm Bureau's just invested $1 million in 5 drone specialists to look at claims on crops, to look at big buildings on roofs that 712 pitch you can't get on, and somebody could fall off ladders and break their back with $1 million claim. So that's a great thing. We've got the RC Flying Club. We've got, George, we talked about Henderson County potentially in the cross country. There's the women's soccer. There's field trips. The Boy Scouts have come to me. Could they use the facility? Big brothers, big sisters. So there's even more opportunities than that. So personally, I want to say the money I've given, I want it to be a community building. I'll personally get the electrical inside the building donated. I'll pay for the heat and air systems and myself and get the labor donated. But we do have to get electricity to the structure. And that's where I'm asking the county to help, because all the other money that's been spent has been personal money and personal donations. But I would like this building to benefit the community, with archery having the preference. And I don't see now maybe being just 1 or 2 archery events a year out there, 3D. So basically, the structure is going to be a community building to serve all the people in the community with all the different needs that the county sees fit, that the county thinks is worthy of the building. And I'd like the building to be utilized through the department of, I guess, Mitzi, you head up that department, right? That, you know, that she's the one that gives permission for use of facilities. So I just want it to be a community building. I want it to serve all the county residents, and I think it's a win-win for everybody. The structure's overbuilt. It's got poured footers, poured stem walls, big porches. I made sure when that building was built, it was overbuilt to all standards. So I'm excited with all the different people that have come in the office and all the different uses. I'm excited for the community. So that's what I come before you this morning and just asked, could we get help with the electrical out there?
Mitzi, would you mind coming to the podium and Bill too, if you don't mind? Considering everything else that Chase has done to get that facility ready, I think this is a very reasonable ask. But what I'd like to do is ask Bill or Mitzi if any of this has been priced yet or what you think the cost could be for his request.
We don't have we've had cost estimates done in the past. This was part of the long-term planning for St. Lee Watkins Park. The way the park is laid out and the way the infrastructure is being put in there, everything has a timing. We, got the roadways roughed in with the crushed concrete. Some of it's been paved. We're upgrading the drainage systems as we go. We've been building the walking trails, but the infrastructure takes time. It's got to be laid out correctly. The plans for the park were always to bring in the electric from two separate sides. One from the front off of Highway 351 to serve the front portion of the park as it develops, and the other one was to bring it in off of the Alice Ferry Road back behind the big lake to serve the potential amphitheater area, the shelters, the facilities, the archery facility, the drone facility, and the RC facility that's on the back portion of the park property. The quotes that we have received in the past, we were looking at about between $75,000 and $80,000 to run the electric in the back portion of the park to get it up to the archery facility. Now, the archery facility is located right there. Right across the road from it is the RC field. Down the road from the archery facility, adjacent to the RC field, is where we plan on putting in the drone park. So all these things have been centrally laid out that require electricity. As you well know, that we have also two areas that are prepped for restroom facilities. Currently, we only have the porta-johns at the park. We have one area that's right across the road from the archery facility by the RC park. So these things have been planned out specifically so that the multi-uses of the area that has been set up already then has the infrastructure and facilities required to serve the public. You have to have the water, you have to have the electric. So,
Mitzi, in your regular parks budget, you have a certain amount of money for equipment and facilities and maintenance, and it's not an insignificant amount, if I'm not mistaken. At first glance, would this fit in within that budget, or would this be an extra ask?
I do think it would end up being an extra ask.
Okay.
With some of the improvements that we already have going on with the fairgrounds, I do think it would end up being an extra.
So my initial reaction is what I'd like Bill and Mitzi to do is prepare a more accurate proposal and bring that back so we know exactly what we're talking about. And again, if we do this, it would be with other uses in mind for all these other things that we plan to run electricity to eventually. We want to do that, preparing for the future. So if it's okay with the members of the fiscal court, I'd like them to come back at a future date, either next meeting or the meeting after, with a more accurate kind of proposal on this.
Judge,
and we can have a discussion too.
Along that line, I know we need to work, of course, with the neighbors. So I'd like to bring those, at least the Wilsons, involved in that loop to be able to access through their property. But I know in the development that I've been involved in, and I don't know if we're planning this, but I'd like for it to be underground so that as we go out into the park, we don't start seeing these power lines everywhere. And I know it's more expensive, but aesthetically, I think going underground would be the route to go. And particularly with those planes, you don't want power lines. But anyhow,
The grants that we have already received for the park, any of the grants that consider participation with federal funding and it deals with the park, they have restrictions that require the developments park that the electric is run underground.
Good.
So that it is more aesthetically pleasing and less intrusive to the natural beauty of the surroundings.
good.
And I go way back with the Wilsons, and I'll be getting with them after harvest to personally go out and see them and spend some time and talk with Scott and Bubba Wilson.
And of course, the improvements which you're so generously offering are dependent upon the electricity being running, so we can't.
Well, it doesn't do any good to put wiring in or heat and air. And also, I've got a guy that's maybe going to consider, we might put in geothermal, and give the county kind of some attaboys, because electrical consumption, the way the building's going to be insulated, would be very insignificant, very insignificant. So, and I want to appreciate Bill. I know I call him at 5 a.m., I call him at 8 at night, 11 at night, so I know he probably has hours, but I know he's thinking, dang, there's Chase again. So Mitzi's the same way. So I appreciate both their time and energy, and I appreciate the court's time today.
And just, I'm like you too, and I'll wrap it. I really think this is a positive step, because every time I get somebody to go out there that's complaining about the park or the funding, and they go out there and they'll go, well, I didn't realize it was so pretty, or I didn't realize, the last person I talked to just this weekend, there was like 7 people fishing that day. And if we can get like the cross country, bringing in the grandparents to watch their kids run, or their parents, whatever, and making it, the more people we get out there, the more support there is for the project itself. And the idea of you converting this to more of a community-wide, I really think will pay dividends. And so what I'm trying to say is I don't think we're wasting our time asking you all to get these, and I'm hoping that the court will, because it's just going to pay dividends.
I had a couple of questions. First, what's the situation on the other part of the electricity? You said 2 phases. Where are we on the front phase?
On the front phase, Charles, we the same thing. We got the water running into the park now. It's looped out, but that helped the Hebbersville community also with working with the water district on that. So we have got working on the easement coming down the old Hall Road with Penn Virginia Resources, and we've been in contact with them. And we do have a hard quote for bringing that one into the maintenance building, the one that we moved from the community college, their old maintenance building that we re-erected on the park facility right there. And we do have a hard number for that. That cost right there is right at $28,000 to bring that in. And the same thing, once it's coming in overhead to the maintenance shop, then once we get it there where we need it from that point elsewhere in the park, we'll go underground.
Those 2 phases is roughly a little over 100,000 is what
That's
was
correct.
said. Where are we on the water situation of the park? Running the water
situation,
lines?
We have it in. It's in and hot. It is. They got it hot last year. The county water, we worked with them on that whole deal. It's a looped system. So it comes in and off of Alvis Ferry Road and ties in out on Highway 351, which helps the pressure of the water area in Hebbersville. We work closely with Pete Conrad on that. So we have water at the park now.
So that phase is taken care of.
That
Then
phase
we
is
do
taken-
have the water
Right.
for all this other. If we put get the
Right.
building going, we got restroom facility. We have all that
That's
water.
correct. That's correct. And the same thing with looking at the restrooms. There's no sense in building the restroom facilities until you have to have water and you have to have electricity. So,
But the main thing, water is to this building that Chase is.
yes,
dealing
the water's
with.
already there. It's
Okay.
not tied into his building. It's just right across the
I
road. In
understand.
fact, we have a fire hydrant located right across the road because we strategically tried to place the fire hydrants on intervals and location to where they possibly could be needed and utilized the most. So.
Any other questions?
Is the septic system in yet?
Septic system, as you well know, the whole park is being constructed on reclaimed surface coal mine, so the ground is not perked. We had the health department come out there when we looked at the locations for our restroom facilities. We have 2 of them that are earmarked based on the growth of the park and what our facilities are going to be. So we had material brought in 4 years ago, and sitting on the ground so that it is in place for the septic system to be installed. We looked at the option between bringing material in that would perk for the septic systems as opposed to self-contained sewage lagoons that have to be fenced in, guarded, and maintained from now whenever, and liability issues and safety issues, health department issues. We decided it was easier and much more aesthetically pleasing to come in, bring the material in that would perk so that it's there waiting on the water, electricity, then build the building, put the system in.
You have any idea what ballpark or what a septic system would cost?
No, it would be somewhat less than running your house. Basically, you'll have the men's and women's restrooms. We didn't get that far.
To the archery building, I'm talking about.
We would use the facilities across the road because we felt it should be more of for everybody, not just put in the structure so somebody's got to get a key and try to get in the structure. So we were just going to use the facilities that are used for everybody.
Okay, so it won't have a bathroom inside the building. It will have one across the road
We didn't
available.
want things going on maybe that shouldn't be going on, or people needing to get in the building or come get the key from
I understand. So that's not a deal we got to deal. That's not something we have to deal with.
No, this was an issue
Okay.
that was discussed prior to the building of the archery, or now the community building, and, the park layout itself.
I'm just trying to get in my head what's going to take to get this building functional. That's all I'm
Yeah.
trying to do.
Will it need water of any sort, like for a sink or anything like
We
that?
put in a drain, stubbed it out, and put the pipe stuff through a poured wall so we could have sink, a rainwater drain. We could,
Right. For keeping the building clean, and if they have a concession stand during an event where they're grilling hot dogs outside, they have a place to wash up their materials and things of this nature.
Okay.
Any other questions?
So my recommendation is we need to chat a little bit more about putting together kind of a accurate estimate and bring it back before the court. Is that okay with everybody? Chase, that okay with you?
appreciate y'all's time today, and God bless y'all and your energy and the good work for the county. All right? Have a good day.
Thank you. Same to you, Chase. Thank you for all you do. Absolutely.
Good questions. Good question.
I'd like to call Angela Hagedorn up. Give us an update on animal control efforts.
Good morning, County Judge, Magistrates, County Attorney, and Ms. Baker. On October the 24th, Henderson County Sheriff's Department and Animal Control responded to a complaint about a farm in Reed. The farm had hundreds of small livestock animals living in unsanitary and dangerous conditions. It was determined that the animals needed to be removed from the property. Animal Control requested assistance from the Humane Society in removing the animals and securing a location to house the animals. The Humane Society was able to secure a foster location for all the animals to be transported to and for housing and evaluation. Animal Control worked until midnight removing the animals from the premises. The total number removed totaled well over 400, mainly consisting of poultry, which includes chickens, ducks, and geese. They are currently under veterinary observation and remain on a medical hold. The animals were surrendered to the Animal Control and will be properly placed once the medical hold is lifted. I first want to thank all of my staff, Chief ACO Katie Crooks, ACO Oakley, ACO Hill, Sean Bentley, Shannon Robbins, Megan Benson, and Bridget Kilgore, as well as Tanya Frederick, for working tirelessly to remove all the animals to a safe and secure location. I want to extend a huge thank you to Detective Rick Lawrence, Sheriff Ed Brady, the Henderson County Sheriff's Department, and County Attorney Steve Gold for all of their assistance with the case. I want to thank County Judge Executive Brad Schneider for all of his guidance and support in helping to address this issue. Words are not enough, but that's all I have to offer at this time. We are eternally grateful to the local farm family that graciously agreed to foster these animals. This allowed the staff to move the animals quickly and the ability to secure them in one location. Animal Control was able to verify count of the animals and has allowed the veterinarian to observe and assess without having to go to numerous locations. I also want to thank the businesses for all their support so we could get the animals properly housed, separated, and fed. Thank you to Pet Food Center, Southern States Henderson and Morganfield, Rural King, Henderson and Owensboro, True Value, Dave's Pizza, Posey County Melons, and Action Tree Service. I also want to thank all the citizens who have donated to help us feed and care for all of these animals and helping us to still care for the animals at the shelter. All of us at the shelter are forever grateful. We could not do what we do without the support of the community. Continued support is appreciated and needed until all these animals are properly placed. I also want to note that this is the largest animal seizure in the history of Kentucky, and it's also one of the top 10 animal seizures in the nation. So our small group of people that I just named did an outstanding and extraordinary job in very dire conditions. So I just want to say thank you. Does anybody have any questions for me in regards to the case?
I guess more of a comment. I can't imagine waking up in the morning getting something of this magnitude in Henderson County and having to address it with the limited staff that you guys have. So I just applaud you and all those that you mentioned on a job well done.
Yes.
Yeah. A round of applause. I'm serious. That's amazing what you've done.
I know that the Sheriff's Department is working with Steve Gold as far as any charges that are pending. But, my main concern right now is to make sure that all the animals get healthy and that we find them good places to go. So just for feed, the cost is about $1,000 a week. That includes feed, hay, straw, and then not counting like with Action Tree Service, they donated wood chips because it's raining. We need to have to secure the ground. There's just numerous things that you don't think of until it's put in before you that you need. So I cannot thank all of the people enough because I don't know what we would have done without them.
I'm not sure people fully understand also the very difficult working conditions that your staff encountered the evening that you found out about this and then had to go out and remediate it. Feet worth of animal waste that had hardened into almost concrete over which your staff had to work to gather the animals up and get them to a safer place, the ones that were still alive. Carcasses of the old animals were encased in this, layers of feces. It was horrific. To the point where I believe your staff can no longer use the uniforms.
Correct.
You burned all those uniforms.
Yes.
I just can't imagine what it was like working that night. I'm sure it was horrible.
Yes.
And please pass along our compliments to those folks who, under very trying conditions, were professional and got the job done and helped save the animals that were still alive. I know you and I initially talked about the size of this rescue, and you just said that it was the largest seizure in the history of Kentucky.
Yes, sir.
Which is hard to wrap my brain around. But I want to suggest to the fiscal court that a humane society here in Henderson County is such a size that I don't think it was ever put together to address such an issue. I mean, this is unprecedented, obviously. Angela's initial thought, in addition to making sure the animals were safe, is how can we afford this? And you have expressed that a lot of people have come to your aid, and there have been a lot of donations. Undoubtedly, though, there will be some ongoing cost, and because we rely on Humane Society for animal control as well, I would ask that the court be open to Angela coming back at a future date and giving us a full account of what this cost them financially, and that we may be able to help in some way. Technically, animal control officers are responsible for the health and well-being of animals which are considered pets, dogs and cats.
Mm-hmm. And livestock.
And livestock.
Yes, sir. We are not anything that's non-wildlife.
Right.
Okay, so again, that falls under the purview of animal control then, and I think considering that we have some contingency for just such very unusual circumstances, I've asked Angela to keep track, and if not at a future date, in the very soon, but when this shakes out, if you need additional help to keep your operations going so that we don't jeopardize our animal control efforts, that you come back and remind us or brief us on what you need.
Yes, sir.
Is that a fair assessment of the situation? And I think that hopefully we'll never ever see something like this happen again. But part of our contingency funds are there for emergencies, and if anything qualifies as an emergency, especially in animal control, I think this is it. So I'm sure you're keeping track of your ongoing expenses and related to this case.
Yes, sir.
And you'll be back soon when you feel like you need our direct help, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Does anybody else have any questions or thoughts on
I
that?
was just going to say, Angela asked me before the meeting if anybody had any negative comments in reference to this, and absolutely not. If this just shows you the quality of work that you've done, because there's not been that first little whisper of a negative comment. So hats off to you, and Judge, what you said financially, as we've looked at their last few months, they're already stretched financially. So I agree with you. We're going to have to do something, because there may be a smaller situation that'll happen, and you just don't have the money to be able to do it already. So I agree.
Steve, any further thoughts on this from your end?
I was just going to say, Ms. Hagedorn listed a whole lot of people that were part of the team that got this done, but I think she deserves a huge thank you for what she's done, because I honestly don't think in my years of dealing with animal control, I don't think if this had happened under some of the prior leadership that we would have been equipped to handle it at all. The fact that she's got that team together, that the team is humming along pretty well and able to get things done, that is a real testament to her leadership, and the way she was willing and able to reach out to the sheriff's office, because this obviously had criminal court implications to it, and coordinate with them. That, I think, is a partnership that was something that was really important to getting this done. So, good job.
They were invaluable. Thank you so much. Any other questions?
Well, I wanted to mention that Steve's office is working on this case as we speak, and I've made the request of anybody who might listen that if it is found that laws were broken, that some sort of restitution be involved in the penalty, but there's a very real possibility that the folks involved may not be able to afford any sort of restitution. So we have to, kind of live with that fact. But there's certainly the request is out there, and we'll see how the case shakes out. I do want to commend Sheriff Brady for the day that we came in and worked together on what next steps we could take. I think you'll agree that Sheriff Brady was very supportive and basically said, you go do your job, and we'll worry about the cost later.
Yes, sir.
And I think that was the spirit of everybody involved at the time. And I, again, echo Mr. Gold's sentiments on your leadership and the work of your team. Very, very dark day in the history of Henderson County. But I think we're going to work through this, and in the end, hopefully a lot of lessons will be learned, and it'll never, ever happen again. So
I agree.
You. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Angela, good job. I've been on this court a long time, and I've never felt as much now as we're in the best leadership we've ever had. And I'm talking a lot of years, like 27 years since I've been on this court. It's never been under the leadership that it is now, and I want to congratulate you. I feel good about it. I hadn't felt that way for a long time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, Kimber Heddens is the current treasurer of our Henderson City County Airport, and he has served the airport board for a long time, and his current tenure on the board is coming up for renewal. And last week's meeting, the board unanimously agreed to recommend that Kimber have another term. And so I'd like to propose that Kimber Heddens be reappointed in that position to the City County Airport Board. I think he's done a very good job, and he's eager to continue to serve. So I'll accept the motion to accept the nomination.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Any other thoughts or questions? Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Magistrate Warren.
Aye.
Magistrate Alexander.
Aye.
Magistrate Todd.
Aye.
Magistrate Wilkerson.
Aye.
And Magistrate Putman.
Aye.
We're now going to have second reading of the ordinance amending the VFD funding program. We talked about having, because of the instruction from State Auditor's Office, moving the payment schedule from one lump sum annual payment to a monthly disbursement based on the way the Sheriff's Department pays all its other bills and reconciles its accounts each month. And welcome any public comment on that, if anybody'd like to say anything at the moment. Any comments from the magistrates? I'll entertain a second reading of this amendment.
I read this in its entirety at the last fiscal court meeting, so what is the court's pleasure? Would you prefer that I read it again, or the synopsis? What would...
The brief summary.
Thank you. An ordinance amending Ordinance 17-02 pertaining to public health, safety, and welfare, regulating the collection of subscriber fees for volunteer fire departments within Henderson County, defining applicability, placing membership charges on property tax bills, establishing a minimum threshold for printing of tax bills, establishing an opt-out procedure for taxpayers not wishing to pay the membership charges, providing for the collection and distribution of the membership charges, and providing means for oversight and revocation of collection right.
A motion to accept that?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? Please call for a vote.
Magistrate Warren.
Aye.
Magistrate Alexander.
Aye.
Magistrate Todd.
Aye.
Magistrate Wilkerson.
Aye.
And Magistrate Putman.
Aye.
On that note, we will have another meeting of the Volunteer Fire Department Subcommittee this Saturday, 8 a.m. at the Henderson County Road Department. We will be meeting with the chiefs to further discuss the process. We'll also have for them the exact amounts of their first payments under this program, the first of the monthly payments. And I must say, having seen the list that was given to me earlier this week, we are right on track with those projections, because taxpayers in the county tend to pay most of them pay up front to take advantage of discounts. Most of the money that the volunteer fire departments will be receiving will be in this first check. The next major deadline for local taxpayers is January 1. After that, a small penalty is accrued, and so everybody tries to get their taxes paid by January 1 if they haven't by November 1st. So probably the next installment of these payments will be the next largest amount of money the volunteer fire departments will get, and after that it'll basically trickle in. But I can say that we are right on target, both for our estimates of the revenue the volunteer fire departments would get and to the amount of money we needed to cover the cost of the program. Should be no problem. So, all good so far. And again, the Volunteer Fire Department Subcommittee meeting, 8 a.m. this Saturday at the Road Department, is open to the public, and all the chiefs will be there. Next, I'd like to call Jailer Amy Brady up to give us an update and her quarterly report.
Good morning.
Morning.
You have a copy of the quarterly report. Do you have any questions on that?
I know your turnover is always a challenge at the jail, but I hope it looks like you're close to the number of needed full-timers, but still looking. So I want to say publicly, anybody need a job, looking for a job and pass a background check, please refer them or see Jailer Brady.
And a drug screen.
And a drug screen.
And I know your numbers have been high, always a challenge.
It is. We've lost several federal prisoners and state prisoners to make room for county, and we're hoping that will soon work out when they put out the guidelines for the Senate bill.
Amy, I was looking at that before you come to the podium. Now that directly has an impact on us, but at this point, is it of any major concern? I know when you start, county inmates cost us money.
Correct.
So is the number...
we're more than double on county inmates than what we normally were. But when they did away with the set bail bond schedule, people stay in jail longer.
Any particular reason for that influx or spike of local inmates? Any thoughts on that, or is it just one of those things?
No bonds.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a couple of things on bonds. You know, there used to be uniform schedule of bonds. Now, actually, we're seeing lower bonds, but it still has to be reviewed by pretrial. So sometimes that takes a little longer. It's not just an automatic, like a menu on certain things now. They get assessed for a risk rating and things along those lines. What we're also seeing, and I think it's noted in the report, is we're seeing a lot more people. See, they're county inmates, even if they commit felonies and destined to become state inmates, but they're county inmates up until the point at which they get sentenced. And although our circuit court moves relatively fast for circuit courts around the state, they do a really good job at that. There is a delay. Our grand jury only meets 10 times a year, once a month, but not in July or December, and that sometimes extends that final sentencing date sometimes, and that's why I've supported the county seeking to get a rocket docket grant that would help with that issue, or them looking at some of the timing of the grand jury and things like that. But that is something that actually occurs up in the circuit court, and I'm in district court most of the time.
So the rocket docket, why do we not have that?
It requires a grant application from all prosecutors in the county, and that's not something there's been agreement on at this point.
There's other counties around across the state that have that, and it's proven that it works.
So it doesn't. We don't have it here. Okay.
Correct.
Sounds like.
And in fairness, the response from the circuit court folks is that once the case gets up there, it does move relatively quickly compared to other counties. It's the process of getting it all the way to there that it would speed that up a little bit, and that is working really well in, say, Union County and Webster County, and other counties around the state. So it's something I really think it's worthy of exploration. And if you're having discussions with anybody that's a policymaker in that area, I would strongly advise you to at least ask them about their feelings on it.
We've had this discussion before, and Steve has gone to great lengths to explain the process and potential to colleagues here. And again, there is a difference of opinion about effectiveness and purpose and end result and consequences. We continue to have that discussion. It comes to the fore when we have spikes in county inmate population, always does. But
we sat down with Amy and her staff a couple of months ago and analyzed all the county inmates and tried to determine, okay, are these more people committing misdemeanors and getting into jail, or is this a spike in felonies and being there longer? And what we found was well over 2/3 of the people that were in there on felony charges that were destined at some point to probably be state inmates and on the state dime. The ones that were actually in there for misdemeanors was a relatively small number comparatively. So now there were some, for example, on say child support, that there weren't a large number of those, but the ones in there were sometimes doing longer stretches of county time. So analyzing those numbers is sometimes a moving target, but I really think that's what we're seeing. Is there's also been just a huge spike in the number of those felonies that are occurring, and so many of them are drug related. That it, I think I talked to the assistant Commonwealth attorney about a month ago, and he said they had already exceeded the number of felony cases that they'd had last year by far. So that is something that is ramping up, and as that happens, it kind of accentuates any points at which there is a slowdown in the process, and every day that slowdown occurs is money to the county.
You'd think they'd want to move those out of there, wouldn't you? I mean, it looks to me like if clear their docket. Look to me like I don't understand. Sounds to me like
Rocket dockets are most effective when you get somebody that is in on something that is drug related, and it's not always a drug possession charge or something like that. Sometimes it's a theft that is to feed a drug habit or something like that, and everybody looking at the case, the minute it comes in, knows that this person has an addiction issue that needs to be addressed, and getting them into treatment is going to be some piece of the resolution of that case. And so, I mean, you can just see it when it comes in. The quicker we can make that happen without some of the other things, and also, making sure that we're, respectful to victims, and people do, make restitution and pay for crimes that they have committed. The quicker we're able to get that to final resolution, the better it is for everybody, and the safer we make our community. Letting somebody that is out committing crimes and whatnot, especially if they do have an addiction issue, letting them out on bond while their cases are pending doesn't make the community any safer. So if we can transition them either to treatment or into a SAP program like what Amy's got within the jail, that's better for everybody. So it's just my 2 cents.
Okay.
But anyway, that just kind of jumped out at me on that. But great conversation.
Would it be inappropriate to ask Bill Markle to come and visit up there? I mean, I'd be glad to ask him what he can do to,
Visit the jail?
No, to visit our meeting room here, have him speak to us. I think it'd be nice to have him come, because it is impacting the county budget, and more particularly the jail. So I don't think there's anything wrong to ask him I'll put in a form of a motion, and if it doesn't pass, it doesn't pass. But I'd like to ask Bill to come, or our assistant Commonwealth attorney come and talk to us here at the court.
I don't think we need a motion. We'll just extend
Okay.
the invitation.
Gotcha.
Because, Steve knew about it, knows about it. I'm now aware of it. It looks to me like the whole county, the people in the county needs to be aware of how things are working, and maybe this is a good time to make them aware of it.
One of the things the grant's used for is to dedicate a person to administering the docket, the Rocket docket. And there's some question about ongoing funding, being able to continue to do this after the grant runs out. Also, there are some who have concerns about, as Steve mentioned, whether people who are shuttled quickly through the system end up giving proper restitution back to the county and state for the crimes they commit, and how that impacts all the things that we use court fees to fund. And it's quite a bit of things. So it seems like a very simple question, but it's actually very complicated.
Oh, sure.
I think,
be done.
and there are some who
Sounds like
question
most of
Rocket
them are.
dockets effective. So I would be more than happy to extend. I think we would also maybe get some input from our friends across the street as well.
I think
who have
it'd be
some-
good to educate us, because if most counties are doing it, I'd just like to know why we're not.
I'm not sure
Give
most
me a good
counties-
reason why we're not.
Yeah.
There are, I think, 40-something counties around the state.
Out of the
due to
120.
grants. Yeah. It's one of those things where the county makes an application for the grant. Now, what there's been, and obviously anytime there's a grant, there's a question of how long is that grant going to last, and what happens if it does pull out from under you. To date, there's been nothing but an expansion of it. There's been nobody defunded on Rocket Docket, to my knowledge. They've been adding counties to it just because of the results they've been seeing. But obviously that is always, sustainability is always a question when a grant's involved.
There's some recent changes with pretrial. The supervisor for the district was just at the jail a week and a half ago, and they're starting to do more interviews with the new intakes to see if they can get released, and they're doing the phone interviews also.
Thank you, Amy. Any other questions for?
You want to give a brief update on the status of the building, like how far behind maybe somebody may be?
According to Jay, it'll be ready in 4.5 weeks exactly. That was in court. They were shooting the floor yesterday, and they finally got the moisture level down, which I'm really not sure what the status of that is now since it's raining. Other than that, we were to stand still until the floor could be sealed. And they're working. It's painted on the inside, and they're getting ready to start cutting through. We were contacted by state police in another district, and we've been down to a closed juvenile facility that's actually newer than our jail. And the community service program and our maintenance crew's been down there working and removing the stainless steel commodes and desks and things of that nature that are corrections grade. And in exchange for the labor, then we get the items and bunks and things like that. So
Good.
it's a lot.
That's great.
Good
A
thing.
lot of money saved.
Awesome. Terrific. Thank you, and thanks for the update. Any other questions of Jailer Brady? Thank you very much.
Thanks.
I move we accept the quarterly report.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other questions? Let's call for a vote.
Magistrate Orrin.
Aye.
Magistrate Alexander.
Aye.
Magistrate Todd.
Aye.
Magistrate Wilkerson.
Aye.
And Magistrate Putman.
Aye.
Gentlemen, in your packet, you notice we have several departments who are wanting to clear their storage rooms of surplus equipment. We have a resolution to that effect. This is additional items, Bill.
Yes.
And these surplus items will be sold via the state government's electronic auction service.
Yes, we will be disposing, once these are approved, either by, under KRS statute, to dispose of by auction, either a public auction or the online auction services that are provided. So we will work out those details once they are approved. I have in front of me a resolution that was put together by our county attorney. If you'd like me to read the resolution.
And we have that.
Well, now that resolution, it was my understanding at the time I was given that original list that everything on that list was to be done by online auction. So that resolution is set for everything to be done as an online auction. I can make changes to that as
We'll
necessary
We'll need to make changes. Some of them will be done by public auction, some will be done by online.
And just as a reminder, KRS 67.0802 requires a determination by the fiscal court of not just what the property is, like you've got on this one list with specific, makes, model numbers, if at all possible, but also we have to make a note of the original reason that it was acquired and the means that it is going to be disposed of and why it is being disposed of. So that's why attached to that, to the resolution that we have now, we have the item, the original purpose, and why it's no longer needed. Generally, most of those were acquired for, if it was from the jail, they were just normal jail operations. Much of that property is either inoperable or obsolete. But that is with regard to the new things that are added to the list, that it's being requested that some of that be put into a live auction. There would need to be a couple of changes to the resolution. That's something that we can either, I can get pulled up on the computer right now and make those changes, or it's something we can do as a resolution at the next fiscal court meeting, whatever
We can
is
do it in
court's
the next
pleasure.
fiscal court to make sure that we have everything that complies. I will add to the listing, Mr. Gold, we'll turn this and put it in landscape, and we'll put the reason, list the reason for acquiring it, and then a reason for disposal. Most of the disposal reasons that we have will be as exceeded its economic life, no longer utilized or is mechanically deficient. Are those terms
Absolutely.
good? Okay.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we prepare this for next fiscal court meeting?
That's right.
Get it buttoned up a little bit better, and we'll bring it back.
Good. Thank you very much.
Ms. Ryder, Treasurer Brenda Ryder, ask her to come to the podium and brief us on any claims she might have.
I have one claim from the jail fund in the amount of $9,896.31 to Southern Partners Incorporated. This represents a prior month excess population increase, which was just received by the detention center.
This is Southern Health Partners, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is part of a monthly invoice that you approve every month. But in review, Southern Health Partners, in reviewing their past few months invoicing to Henderson County, realized that this particular addition had not been included in the monthly billing.
So this is a slight increase based on increased population?
Yes, which is a monthly. You generally see 2 line items for Southern Partners every month, but this was not with that in the prior month of August.
Okay. Motion to accept that?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions? Further questions? Please call for a vote.
Magistrate Warren.
Aye.
Magistrate Alexander.
Aye.
Magistrate Todd.
Aye.
Magistrate Wilkerson.
Aye.
And Magistrate Whitman.
Aye.
Is that it?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. 2 items for the good of the county I'd like to start out with. We can take up pretty quickly. The 2018 holiday schedule is out. I think you have it in your packets. I'd like to go ahead and establish that. That's one of our annual duties. This is the same basic schedule as this year, the same holidays. I'd like to get that done before the end of the year, so you have the schedule in front of you. Any other thoughts or questions on that? Need a motion to approve.
I move to
those?
approve.
Okay.
Sorry.
Motion and a second. Any other questions? Please call for a vote.
Magistrate Warren.
Aye.
Magistrate Alexander.
Aye.
Magistrate Todd. Magistrate Wilkerson.
Aye.
And Magistrate Whitman.
Aye.
Thank you. And also, we have 2 appointments to grad committees. And technically, I don't believe these are actually subject to fiscal court approval, but I wanted to bring them to you anyway, just to let you know and to get any input. Tootie Cravens has long been Henderson County's representative on Grad's Council for Aging, and her term is up, and she'd very much like to serve again. I think she's done a great job. So without any objection, I'd like to reappoint her. Anybody have any thoughts on that?
So move.
Okay. I don't think we need a vote. But also, Bill Markwell is Henderson's citizen representative on the Grad Board. He's served on the Grad Board for many years. The citizens representative is approved according to Grad bylaws by the judge and the 4 mayors and the 3 mayors in the county. The 3 other mayors in the county, they have all approved Bill Markwell's reappointment. He said he'd like to serve 1 more term as Henderson's citizen representative on the Grad Board, and unless there are any objections, I'd very much like Bill to serve 1 more term. He's done a faithful job at Grad, and I think he's a good representative for our community. Is that okay? All right, we will pass those along. And with that, I'd like to open it up to anybody in our audience who'd like to address the court. Yes, Mr. Hubiak.
Judge, I have the consensus of the report and of the opening of the bids for the 500 kW generator for the jail. This is the required generator, the size that needs to be installed at the jail for them to be able to operate should power go down. We met with the jail committee last week, and it was consensus in the meeting to go with the 500 kW, not the 600, due to the cost constraints. So it was my recommendation that we award Cummins Crosspoint LLC of Evansville, Indiana, the bid for the 500 kW generator at a cost of $78,717.95, along with the additions of the 1,200 amp ATS, which is required at $7,500, and the remote annunciator, which is $300. We do not need the 400 amp switch because that's already been purchased and being installed with part of the jail expansion.
Any other thoughts from members of the jail committee on that? Motion to accept that bid.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other questions? Please call for a vote.
Magistrate Warren.
Aye.
Magistrate Alexander.
Aye.
Magistrate Todd.
Aye.
Magistrate Wilkerson.
Aye.
And Magistrate Putman.
Aye.
Thanks to the work of the committee with Bill, making sure that got done expeditiously. Anybody else in the audience this morning who would like to address the court on any issue? Magistrate Putman, any thoughts for good of the county?
Thank you, Judge. First, all good in the fourth, but Anna, I just want to congratulate you. It seems like the Bennetts are the grandparents. have got, there's something in the blood. I was telling your grandfather this morning. I said, because I think this is the second Bennett that has won this award, one last year and one this year. So let me applaud the family. So you come from pretty good stock, and it looks like they're doing all the right things, and it's quite an accomplishment. I know a lot of the students that come here and that receive this award kind of look at it as ho-hum type of deal. But as we was talking this morning, I think Mr. Gold and I were talking to you about November 7th, 2017 is Anna Bennett Day in Henderson County. So I applaud you. It's another reason, like I told you, another reason to celebrate. So congratulations, and congratulations to the family. Y'all have done a great job with them. And thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Magistrate Putman. Magistrate Warren?
And I'll also congratulate you. And I know Chase has left, but as Chase was stating when he was up here at the microphone, in the word team, there is no I in it. And so as I look at the family members here who have helped to raise you, including grandparents, parents, and their teacher who was here, they all work together as a team to help to kind of mold you into the person you are. But I will say there is maybe a I out there because you listened to them, and if you hadn't listened to them and taken on some projects that you did, you would not be the person you are today. So it's a team effort, but then you independently have done very, very well. Angela, I want to thank you again for being that in the first district where that took place. You've done just an outstanding job. And as Charles said, we're very fortunate that you selected Henderson to come. And one little side note, typically, people think, well, the guy is out working or not at home or whatever. But in your case, your family really, you give so many more hours outside your work time that I know your family appreciates you, but you really, really do a lot outside your normal work hours. So hats off to you for that. On the last thing, I guess maybe I should have started out with this. We did have a community cleanup, and we were doing such a great job on it and thought we were doing the right thing. And then we had somebody who decided they wanted to abuse the situation. So I just think that it needs to be noted that if anybody knows who would have dumped 296 tires at a church property that now has caused damage to their roadway, and we have to clean. Well, first we had to clean the tires up. Second of all, now we got to clean the roadway and put rock down and do things that, here we are trying to do good things, and then somebody decides they want to do something wrong. So if we can help correct that, please let us know. And Beth, I guess I'm leaning towards you, and I know you'll do something, as you always do a great job. But anyhow, anything we can do to try to resolve that. So,
absolutely. I want to second that. Community cleanups help the entire community, and people who abuse community cleanups, especially abuse that's as heinous as that. I mean, not only did they dump many more tires that the county will now have to pay to dispose of, they damaged church property while they were doing it, and they knew what they were doing was wrong because they did it under the cover of darkness the night before. So if anybody knows who that could possibly be, we'd like to investigate that. Magistrate Alexander.
I want to thank Anna and that you've done an excellent job, and thank your family because y'all have done an excellent job. Y'all are the roots behind her, and evidently it's doing a good job. So thank you, and that's, I guess, again, Angela, she's done a good job, but she has to work hard. She's married to a farmer. They don't do anything. So with that, I'll just pass on. I'm done.
Anna, that's called hubris a little bit.
Yeah.
Magistrate Todd.
I want to congratulate Anna. It's a great honor out of a Hope School. They've chosen you. And I know I asked her if she knew that gentleman at the end. She said yes. And I said, do you like him? Her response is a little slower, but she said yes. Said she did. So congratulations to you. I take your resolution back to school and show everybody. Show that off. And we had a cleanup day a week ago Monday, and it went very well. You can know that scrap metal's down because normally somebody of the cover of night will come through and take all that out. but we had a roll off and a half full of scrap metal and some trash. So it went well, and I thank the road department and some ladies at the Warm Center that came out and helped. And Anna, I echo the whole court. We appreciate you and we thank you for the job well done. That's it.
Magistrate Wilkerson.
Anna, congratulations on your day. And I know you claim your grandfather. But everything's good in District 5.
Mr. Gold.
Congratulations, Anna. It's clear you got a whole lot of people surrounding you with love and really invested in your success, and you're taking that and you're going to the next level and really succeeding, and that's something that you should be proud of. But I also think it's something that they should be awful proud of too, because I know they all played a hand in making sure that you were in a position where you could be here today. So congratulations. As far as the county attorney's office goes, we've got a lot of retirements coming up. A whole lot of folks are deciding that it's time to retire. So we're going to have 3 openings. So a lot of shuffling around in the next next few weeks at this point. So that's something that I hope one way or another. I hope the legislature gets some sort of resolution to whatever's going on with pensions, because I think right now people are making some decisions based on what proposals are rather than what's actually done. So I hope one way or another there is some sort of resolution there where people can make decisions based on what the law is actually going to be. But we are going to miss some folks, and if you see Verdina Edwards, who sits at the front desk at my office, her last day is going to be the end of December. Valerie Watson, who is the main support for our prosecution side of the office, her last day is the end of this month. And Madison Sewell, who is a part-time assistant county attorney, he, a few weeks ago during the hurricane, he was down there. He was visiting a lady friend down there, and I think that hurricane experience drew them even closer together and is now drawing him down to Houston full time. So that's going to make for some changes in our office. So I hope that you bear with us. And if you know, we're doing some internal shuffling, but we will have at least one position open. So if you know anybody that would be interested in working in the county attorney's office, please spread the word and send them my way.
Thank you, Mr. Gold, and I'll echo all the sentiments that have been expressed to Anna this morning. We're proud of you. I'm sure you enjoy the support of your family. You have a great family, and we're very proud of her. Great job. Thanks especially for your ability to overcome your grandfather. I know that's not an easy task, but you are doing it successfully every day. But in all honesty, he's very, very proud of you and was looking forward to this day. So congratulations, and think about where you want to have lunch, and we'll talk about that in a moment. It strikes me that as we talk today about some things that may appear to be negative, like our animal control emergency that we had, and overcrowding at our jail, and abuse of community cleanups. What that really is about is our county doing things, doing great things, and having the ability to respond to emergencies when they happen, instead of wondering what could happen or worrying about being able to even have the resources to help fix these things. I'm actually proud that we are able to proactively take care of things like this very unusual circumstance at this farm. And part of the reason, I think, for spikes in our county prison population is the great work being done by the Pennyrile Narcotics Task Force and our Sheriff's Department and our city police department, actually helping to address this criminal problem in our community right now that's caused by drugs and various things. To me, that's a positive thing. There's always consequences sometimes when you're really active, when you're really trying to do positive things, when you're trying to help the community. There can sometimes be negative consequences that you have to handle, but we're in a position to do that. The community cleanups, I think, are a countywide benefit to all of our citizens, and if a couple people decide to abuse that, well, we'll address it. We'll take care of it, and I'm glad that we can. But in the meantime, we're helping a lot of people by collecting up their stuff that might otherwise be dumped in places that we don't want it to be. And so to me, even though I think this meeting maybe had a tinge of negative, what it really is about is all the positive things we're trying to accomplish and the positive activities that we're engaged in right now, including Sandy Lee Watkins Park and all those things. So I want to send everybody home with a smile today, not a frown, because this is all a product of being in the mix and also having the resources to do it. And I know the hard work of the fiscal court and our department heads over the last year and 8 months have helped provide us the resources to do these things and to address these problems and have the funding to take care of emergencies. So I'm actually leaving the meeting today very positive and enthusiastic. So with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and all those in favor can leave.